Welcome back to the Ref Show, part 2 with Keith Hackett and with Brian Deane. Elbowing is the main subject of this section. Might have been a few days ago, but it was blatant and it certainly sticks in the memory. The elbow, a deliberate elbow, it would seem, that England's Laura Bassett received against France. No action at all from the referee on that, Keith.
I was disappointed. I thought the referee had quite a good view of it, chose not to take any action. You know, I mean, I'm sure at this tournament that referees have been told to watch out for the illegal use of hand and arm. And so they've got raised awareness. It's really important that they then punish. To ignore it or not see it is a downside of the referee. What disappointed me then after was the competition itself has the ability to look at that incident retrospectively and deal with it. They didn't. So in not taking action there, I think it opens the door slightly, and we've now had a second one. And so my view is that, you know, where there's aerial challenges and there's deliberate closing of the fist and the backward movement, we've really got to do something about that to stop that within the game.
Yeah, this was an elbow from Camille Abili of France that went unpunished at the time. And also, adding to the fact that FIFA didn't take action and maybe contributing to it, the English FA decided against lodging any formal complaint.
I think they'd be commended on that. Because I mean, they lost the game. It's gone. I don't think anything's to be gained by complaining about it. Perhaps it would look better if there was a complaint lodged if they'd have won, but it just contributes to the view that, you know, they're only complaining it's sour grapes and all the rest. So I think it's probably a good decision just to forget about it now, just move on.
Mark Sampson had his say, as he was entitled to. Certainly the spirit in which the games are being played is remarkably good. Maybe the men's game could learn a fair bit. Laura Bassett really received one there. You saw the mound, really, of the bruise on her cheek, and yet she got up with the game and got on with it, Brian. How many Premier League players would have done that? Oh.
No.
It's not good to talk about the past or whatever, and you know, and the thing is, with that kind of incident, we see it. If we see it in the game in the Premier League on a Saturday, of course, there's going to be all, you know, there's cameras all over the place. There's match of the day. There's everything, and you do find that puts a lot of pressure on to have some kind of retrospective punishment. But I think from the women's game and that point of view, because it's still quite young, it's still quite fresh, I think they just look at it with an innocent eye. I really do.
Well, long may that continue. The quote from Laura Bassett was, "Faking injury has never been part of our game. We're not very good actresses," she said, "and I think we should stick to playing football." Well said, Laura.
I didn't even know that, and
yeah, that's what she said following it.
My concern about the game generally at this moment in time, be it in America or in Canada at the World Cup, be it in Australia under 20 tournament running, Premier League, Football League, the games that we see is that there is this ongoing increase of the illegal use of the hand and arm, not just in terms of elbowing and deliberately using that. It's actually this holding, pulling, defenders moving on. We've had that in the past, don't get me wrong, but generally players have been able to control that and it's been managed by them. But now I think it's getting to the point where there's this finite balance. We're watching a game that's called football, that should be played by the feet other than the goalkeeper. And we're getting this increased incidence of when two players are going in for a challenge, it's either a dig in the ribs, a push that's subtle, or it's this grabbing and grappling that's going on. And the skill factor is being outweighed by, I wouldn't call it brutality, I would call it a lack of skill by the defender to be able to defend.
If we're not careful, Brian, this is going to become a normal part of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I have to go along with what Keith's saying. I think for me, the worst, and I saw a little bit in the Wales-Belgium game, was the fact that the defender isn't even looking at the flight of the ball. It's that motion that really gets to me, because you know, that isn't defending. And I think sometimes a referee needs more help, because if there was another official there looking out for that specific type of block, then I think you would, the forwards would benefit. But you know, we see in the European Cup final as well. The Italians, I think we took the lead from them really. But then the Spanish, everybody's doing it. And what you're finding is that a lot of the time it's getting unpunished when we can see from the stands or where we are that it's just a blatant block.
As you are the ref has said from the start, get a grip on grappling. Yeah. It's impressive to see women as well, except I know in the England-France game at the Women's World Cup, one of the England players, forget who was it, Chapman, received a totally false yellow card, wouldn't even make contact with the and she just accepted it and got on with the game. So there's maybe plenty to look. The other elbow that we must mention in Canada was one that smashed into the face of Sam Kerr of Australia in their 2-0 win over Nigeria, off the ball and missed by all the officials.
See, the whole aspect of this is that, you know, the elbow is a weapon, and it's one where we've got to take great care. You know, the referee has a responsibility. The game has a responsibility for the safety of players, and therefore this type of offence, seen it by the camera, perhaps missed by the official, not aware of that's taking place, has to go into that retrospective, let's look, let's punish, in order to avoid it escalating. That player who's committed that offence thinks, I've got away with one, I'll do another one later on. The one that's been offended suddenly thinks, well, I'm going to defend myself against this going forward. So you've then got this escalation that creates a problem.
And of course the referees at the highest levels missed these as well, like the Spanish referee Alberto Undiano, who's in charge of England's thrilling European Championship win over Slovenia. Couldn't have got a more blatant one than when Wayne Rooney was elbowed, Brian.
Yeah, no, it's certainly not. It's not very good. It's not good for the game. I agree with Keith. You know, retrospective punishment now should be across the board. You know, and players should be told before the game, look, you know, there are cameras. If we see, whether it's a UEFA game, whether it's a Football League game, Premier League game, look, if you are caught on camera deliberately elbowing somebody, you will be punished. And I think that will help to eradicate it from the game.
One thing on that, Alan, was the amazing reaction of Wayne Rooney. I mean, in the past, he would have gone for him, wouldn't he? Yeah. He'd have gone for the player to take retribution. And he just stood there or was flat on his backside in amazement and didn't. And I think that's great credit to him, how he has matured and not belly aching at the referee.
Well said.
Just on that, I actually think that, you know, English football, British football at international level, we're better at just getting on with the game. You know, as soon as we start letting the game get broken up, you're playing to the hands of the opposition.
Yeah, it's a great point. And well said on Wayne Rooney as well, because for me, he gets far too much stick. Terrific player. Now, you know, looking to go as England's record goal scorer. You know, we should really be saluting him a bit more, I think. MLS. We'll talk in more detail about the MLS next week. The league table at the moment, DC United at the top, NE Revolution second, Orlando, Toronto, New York Red Bulls. But our last RefCam game was a 0-0 draw between Salt Lake City and Colorado Rapids. PRO is the referee organisation, stands for Professional Referee Organisation. Hey, PRO is so much better sounding than PGMOL, isn't it? Really?
Well, I had an influence on that. In fact, I had a big influence. That was the title I gave it. I mean, obviously, I sat and advised the MLS and US Soccer about the structuring of professional refereeing. They wanted to introduce it. They looked at the English model, the Premier League level. They also looked at Bundesliga closely. And then it was how you're going to form it as a business, how you're going to run it. And they then initially wanted me to go out into the States and run it, but we were fortunate. Peter Walton was coming to the end of his career. He went through the interview process. As I suspected he would get the post. And what he's done is he's mirrored everything that we were doing in the past at the PGMOL. Obviously, it's changed now at the PGMOL. But and he's got a great guy in Paul Riger, who I had with me at the PGMO, looking after the assistant referees, but Paul does the training of both referees and assistant referees. So it mirrors exactly the same sort of structure as the PGMOL. And then the difference is the distances that they have to travel. You know, some of those trips are 3 days. They're a little bit like a European appointment. They get together referees frequently. There's more openness. You will see every week on their website, they will look at a game or play of the week. That might be from a playing point of view. It might be from explaining to their audience about a particular decision. And interestingly also, the punishment, if you like, for the MLS players who step out of line is managed by the MLS. Right. And the MLS have about 4 or 5 people, ex-player, involved in the process. So by Monday, it's all done and dusted. You're either suspended, fined, or it's overturned. And it's very quick, it's very clean, and for me, it's extremely fair.
Okay, well, we'll talk a bit more about the organisation of Pro in America and the MLS in a bit more detail next week. And as we go on, and we're always happy to have our new viewers from the goalnation.com website in America as well. But for now, Brian and Keith, thank you very much, and for your company. Do raise any points you have with youaretheref.com. Hope to see you again next week. Bye.